All right, so today we have the Scratch Murder Mystery Project. We're going to be working with parallel lines, transversals, angle relationships. By now you should have played the game, so you are a little bit familiar with what you're going to be doing. That was one of the previous links before this. But assuming that you've played it, let's get started. So the first thing you're going to do is you are going to fill out this planning document. This is where we want to make sure that we've kind of set up our game correctly. So if you notice, we have Scratch. We're going to start with Scratch. We're always just going to start with that message that if there's two victims, then Scratch is innocent. If you want to change the amount of victims or innocent, just make sure you change that in Scratch in the actual coding project. All right, so this is where you're going to write which character you're starting with, which, like I said, is Scratch. He's innocent. And then you're going to write where we go in next. So remember, we have this picture here. So I posted it on this document, so it's there to help you. So for example, if you wanted to start with going to the vampire next, then you could say, I, at Scratch, am vertical angles to an innocent character. And then this will allow you to be like, oh, okay, so that's going to give us the vampire. So the character that's going to tell us about is the vampire. And then so then the next one is we will do the vampire's clue. He is innocent, and then so on. So you're going to continue through all of this as you go. And you can kind of plan out your story here, what you want to say, and what it's going to be. So the requirement for this is that you're going to use at least 6 of these angle relationships at least once. And then if you can get all 7 of them in there, you will get a bonus point. So vertical angles, linear pair, and corresponding angles, and then all of the interior, exterior stuff. So alternate interior angles, alternate exterior angles, same side interior, same side exterior. So go ahead and fill out this entire page first. And then once you've got that done, then we can start moving into Scratch. Real quick here, I'll just show you my example for the game that you guys played. So notice it was Scratch, and then he said, I'm alternate exterior angles with a victim. That was the spider, so then the spider was a victim. And then with the spider, I said I make a linear pair with 2 innocent characters. So that told me the wizard and the zombie. So then those are my next 2 here with the wizard and zombie. And then we've got them, they're both innocent, and then kind of the clues that keep going. So it told me which is not a victim, which is not a murderer. So therefore, which had to be innocent. And then we kept going with the story all the way through. And you'll see with my, let me see, so I got alternate exterior angles. I got linear pair. I got corresponding angles. Alternate interior, so that's 4. Vertical angles is 5. Same side interior angles is 6. And then same side exterior angles is 7. So I did get them all in here. It's totally okay if you put 2 of them in one clue. That counts as using them both and whatnot. And like I said, it is okay if you repeat stuff. I know sometimes that's easier. I kind of repeated linear pair here since I said linear pair with 2. That's fine, but it just has to use at least 6 different angle relationships to get full credit. And then if you can get all 7, I'll give you a little bit of a bonus as well. So once again, go ahead, finish that planning document. And then once you've got that, you're going to be in good position to kind of move on from there. So go ahead, pause the video right now. And then when you come back, I'll assume that you have that done and we can go into Scratch. All right, so we are back into Scratch now. And our goal here is that we can start doing the coding. Now, this is just a little bit different. If you haven't yet, make sure you click the link to the template. And you should see something like this. Now, I own it, so it's going to look just a little bit different for you guys. You should see a remix button here as well. But with this, you're going to have some shell code or some starter code here for you. And then you're just going to have to make some changes. You're not going to have to code this whole game from scratch. So you want to hit the C inside here. And you do want to make sure that you're signed in, and you want to make sure that you remix it. There should be a green button towards the top of your screen that says to remix. Just make sure you click that. Then it will turn into your own thing, and it won't be mine. Then you can do the coding, make changes to it, do whatever you need to do that. So make sure that you remix it. Once again, a green button towards the top of your screen. I know it's not on mine, but it should be up here for you. So when you go into it, it's going to look, once again, very complicated, which is why I've done most of the coding for you. But let's just kind of go through and see if all of these commands make sense. So we have our when green flags clicked. Remember, that's what we need for everything. And then we want to first switch our backdrop to the wood. So that's going to be this wooded scene here with our parallel lines and our transversal. And we're setting our size to 50%. We're shrinking it just a little bit for Scratch. And then we have Scratch going to his specific location. Once again, these are preset. You don't need to make any changes to this. But this is the first place you will make changes when we get to the set the things. So I have it right now set to 5 innocent, 2 victims, and 1 murder. If you want to change that, then you just need to make sure that you change those. Those 3 variables will control what numbers you see up here. So if you've changed that, then you need to make changes. If you've left it at 5, 2, and 1, then you can leave it as is. For Scratch, we change his costume to original. Scratch has 4 costumes, so he has his original costume, if he's the murderer, if he's the victim, and if he's the innocent. So we always want to start the sprite off with the original. And we want to make sure that he shows up on the screen. So that's what that show does. So after we've kind of reset our game, got it where we want it to be, then we can do our forever loop in which the game is going to run. So our forever loop here, we have if costume number equals 1, so that's the original costume. Then Scratch is going to say if there are 2 victims remaining, then Scratch is innocent. Once again, if you switched the 2 victims and you have more victims in your story for whatever reason, make sure you change that number there. And then if for some reason you made Scratch not innocent, make sure you change it there as well. Then we got a bunch of if statements here. So if our mouse is down, and if we're touching the mouse pointer, or if Scratch is touching the mouse pointer, then we're going to ask the question, what do you think Scratch is? So that happens, so when I click him, as you're going to see right now, it changes to this right here. And that's what's happening there. So if my mouse is clicked, which is what this block means, and then if Scratch is touching the mouse, so both those things. So basically, if I've clicked on Scratch, those 2 blocks say, then we want to ask what Scratch is. And then we're going to have the answer. So the correct answer for our game is that, or for my game was that he's innocent. So then I want to make sure that if they've entered the correct answer, so if the person responds with I, then we're going to switch costume to innocent. We're going to remove the amount of innocents left by 1, kind of decrease that. So once again, if I type in I now, you will see that the costume has changed to innocent, as well as the innocents left went down to 4. So that's how that's going to happen there. And else, so if they enter anything besides I, then we're going to broadcast the losing message where it says game over. All right, so we've got something else here then too. So if we are not in costume 1, which means we've changed from our original costume, which means we now know what Scratch is. He's innocent, so that's not the original costume. Then we are going to do this else statement. So if the mouse is touching him, then we're going to say our next clue. So you can see here it says code here, because you guys are going to enter that code, whatever story you want here. So that's kind of the overall, each sprite looks the same in terms of that, or looks mostly the same in terms of that. So you don't have to get crazy at all with this. But when you do your story, you need to make sure that you change a few things. So also, the first thing you're going to change is this. So let's, for example, say that we want Scratch to be, actually, let's go to a different character. For me, the spider was a victim. So let's say we want the spider to be a victim. So what you need to change for every sprite, their default set to innocent, is you need to go to innocent, or switch costume 2, and switch it to victim. Okay. You need to also go into the answer and switch that to victim. Switch costume to victim and change victims left by -1. So those are the 4 changes that you need to make if you are switching somebody from innocent. So once again, switch costume, and then you move down your code here. So if answer equals, then the letter, switch costume to victim, and then change victims left by -1. And you'll need to also do that for your murderer as well, or murderers if you're having more than one. And then for every person or every sprite, no matter what, you do have to give them a message here. And what's nice is that you can just go to your planning document, right? And you can just copy and paste whatever you wrote here. So copy, and you can just bring that in to Scratch, and you can click here, delete that, and paste it in. So Control V, and now it's there for you. So it should be a pretty quick process if you've done that planning. You are going to leave this one blank, and all that means is that if you're touching the pointer, it's going to say that. So notice that we can now say we changed it to victim. So now if the mouse pointer is touching it, it shows it, but if it's not touching it, then we're just saying nothing. So that's why it kind of clears that. You can also see our victims left went down here, and we used our victim costume. So for all of this, you just need to change those 5 things. So here we go, switch costume. If answer equals the letter, switch costume here as well, and then change whichever one left, and then to make sure that you say your new message when you're there. Other than that, the game's going to function. I've created everything to make the game function okay for you. So if you've just changed those for each sprite, then you should be good. So like there'd be the witch. Make sure that you say whatever you want to say there, as well as if you need to, switch costume, change the letter, switch costume, and then change the variable for innocent left versus victims or murder. And then once again, after you're done with that, then you need to make sure that you go to see project page. Go ahead and retitle this if you would like. Nothing wrong with that. And then make sure you change your instructions here. If you've changed the number of murderers, the number of victims, or the number of innocents. So once again, it's set up that there's 1 murder, 2 victims, and 5 innocent. So if you've changed that, make sure you change that over there as well. Otherwise, you don't need to change the instructions at all. And then just go ahead and click Add to Studio, and you can add it to your Unit 3 Studio as far as we go. So this project, and that's all there is to it. So the coding of this project is going to be very short. There's not a whole lot to it because you're just changing some of the code instead of creating it all from scratch. But the more tough part about this is to make your plan, create your story, have it work, and then to implement your story and implement your game over here. So if you've got any questions, obviously let us know.